the week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode
He's back,
273. Mr. Savage, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's been a crazy week. Looking forward to getting these races going tomorrow. We got that 11:30 a.m. post tomorrow, 10:30 on Saturday. Lots of good options to play. You can either bet pari-mutually. There's some good tournaments going on at Stable Duel, some good tournaments going on over at Horse Tourneys. So lots of different options if you don't want to bet into those pari-mutual pools.
That all sounds great to me. Aside from the really early start time, 7:30 a.m., 8:30 a.m. on the East Coast. I mean, I'm awake at that point. I've been awake for a few hours, but it's not like I'm very, awake and actually paying attention to things. And speaking of paying attention, it's been, the last couple of weeks I haven't paid too much attention to horse racing. So for this episode of the Magic Mike Show, I thought I'll ease back into things. I will go ahead and host as you and Aaron Halterman joining us from Racing Dudes, the Blinkers Off team. You guys are going to cover the Preakness Stakes, late pick 4 sequence. It ends in the Preakness Saturday at Pimlico. So I'm excited to just kind of sit back and listen to the two guys who know what the hell they're talking about. Hopefully give out some winners on the show today.
Yeah, I mean, lucky for you, nothing's happened in the last 2 weeks. So really nothing to catch up on in the horse racing world.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on. I didn't get pulled out of paternity leave because of some bullshit press conference, but we don't have to get into that. Listen, I'll hand it to you guys, you and Aaron and Jared. Every day there was something live happening on the Racing Dudes YouTube channel, so I was able to keep abreast of what was happening, and I thought you guys did a great job of covering it. And then we've got the Preakness Stakes ending this one. It's going to be curious to see how you guys play it, knowing that maybe some horses are going to have to run cream-free for the first time. They're already running Lasix-free. Now they have to run cream-free. Not sure how that's going to work out, so we'll see what goes on with your tickets. But, how's things been going, and what's been going on this week for you?
I've entered like the angry stage of the whole thing. Like, I think I'm just sick of it, and it's like, ugh, I'm ready to move on at this point. It's been pretty wild, Magic. You haven't missed much though, so no worries.
Well, shoot, we got 93 people watching us live right now on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you so much. Do us a quick favor. Give us a like, a thumbs up, hit subscribe, click the notification bell so whenever we go live during the next few weeks, during the Triple Crown, whenever there's news breaking every single day, someone's hopping on this channel to talk about it and interact with you guys. So if you hit that notification bell, you'll get alerted as soon as somebody's going live, and you can join the conversation in the chat. And it's been a lot of fun watching everybody. Even if I haven't been on the videos, I've been in the chat a little bit, screwing around with some people. So it's been a lot of fun to just kind of sit back. But now I'm ready to jump back in and talk about the Preakness Stakes. Before we get into it, see if I can remember how this goes. Mike, what's the best thing that you saw this week?
Well, I would talk about Friday's Pimlico card, but it's incredible. We'll get to that later. Don't worry about it. Best thing I saw, we had the NFL schedules come out. So we actually got to see who plays who, and just a little tip of the cap to the NFL. You've got Tom Brady trying to break the all-time passing record week 4. By the way, he's at the Patriots. And if he throws for 269 yards a week, he'll break it in Foxborough as the visiting quarterback. So hat tip to the NFL. Way to go. Love it when that stuff comes out. Looking forward to my Dolphins. Get it going, man.
Aaron, what about you? What's the best thing you saw this week?
You're back. That's easily the best thing I've seen. I love it. I feel like I've been on like every show imaginable this weekend, probably because we had to do so many because of the Baffert stuff and the Preakness. By the way, it's going on as well.
Oh, there's a race.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's weird. I'm so looking forward to this show because we can sit here and actually handicap and do what we love to do, and I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, definitely you being back. That's the best thing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. It's I was looking through the races this morning that's in this sequence, and I had to watch a bunch of replays because I was like, some of these horses' names, I don't know if it's just I'm a little rusty or I'm not used to covering the Mid-Atlantic circuit a bit. Some of these horses kind of threw me off, but I know the horses who've been beating them, so maybe I'll be able to help give a little bit of insight into how that's going. It's easy for me. The best thing I saw, I had my parents here from Oregon for a couple of days earlier this week, and then my in-laws come in Friday night, and then they'll be here for about a week. So lots of great family time around here, people helping out and seeing the baby, which is pretty great. I am lucky that I know a lot of people I think were cringing when I said my in-laws are here for a week. I have really amazing in-laws, so that's a good thing for me. I know some people don't always get to share that, but it's exciting to have them in here. It's crazy. I haven't seen any of them in a year and a half. A year and a half I haven't seen either family, so it's a little weird when they first get here because it's like I haven't seen you, but at the same time it's family. It kind of feels normal, so a little weird like that.
Yeah, that's a top level life hack. Enjoy your in-laws, like them. That makes life a lot better. We've got them coming this weekend. I love spending time with them. It's awesome. They're great with the kids like that. If you like your in-laws, it's a serious life hack.
I'll agree 1,000%. Yeah, they came. We had them third week in April. The week after the Arkansas Derby, it was great visit. Yeah, I totally agree. People that don't like your in-laws, it's a long life.
Yeah.
Well, and I haven't met either of your in-laws, but I've met both of your wives, and you don't get a good product like that without some good upbringing behind it. So it's usually, if you've got a great wife, there's probably a pretty great family system back there behind it, which is really great because it's eventually we're all going to want to go back to the track, hang out for a while, and somebody's got to watch the kids. So in-laws, love you. Take care of them for us. We love it. That's how that works. Except Aaron. Aaron doesn't have to worry about that. Aaron just has to make sure that Heather gets taken care of while he's gone. So that's all you got to worry about.
Right.
Well, like I said, on today's show, we're looking at the late pick 4 sequence at Pimlico on Saturday, May 15th, ending in the Preakness Stakes. Gentlemen, see if I remember how to do this. Let's get into it. Riders up. Kicking things off, we're looking at race 10 on Saturday, the $100,000 Jim McKay Turf Sprint Stakes, field of 13 males, 4 and up, going 5 furlongs on the turf course. Favoritism on the number 4, the Critical Way at 5-2. You also have all the way on the outside, number 13, Completed Pass at 7-2. The 2019 champion who lost by a head last year to the defending champion, number 5, Hollis, a 6-1. Plenty of options here. This to me smells like we're going to get a really nice price to kick things off, even if the last leg might look a little chalky. Mike, start with you. Where are you going on top?
I'm going to go with the favorite, Magic. Look, the 4 Critical Way I think is in a good spot here. I'm a little concerned about the age here. You got a 7-year-old that's been consistently improving, so that kind of makes me take a step back. But look, that last race, I mean, we talked about how great that Shakertown was. You had Bound for Nowhere and Imprimis just battling it out down the stretch. And a lot of people forgot this is the horse that ran third. The Critical Way was about 3 lengths behind them, but still the next horse behind what I believe are the 2 best turf sprinters in the world. You get Sias to take them out again. You know the horse can run well without Lasix based off the last race. I think the Critical Way here at 5-2 is a pretty solid favorite in this sequence to kind of kick this off. But I will tell you, I do like the horse right to the outside, Hollis. I think this horse has a shot at repeating here. I think this is probably going to be your speed of the speed in this situation. Should be able to get out front, get a good break, get up there, and try and hold them off late. Didn't run that great at Keeneland, but I'm going to kind of just draw a line through that one. It just kind of got a bad spot, was chasing on the inside, never came close to the lead. This horse wants to be forwardly placed. I like the 6-1 price. And we get Irad Ortiz picking up the mount as well. So for me, I'm going to kick it off here with the 4 and the 5 as my 2 must-uses.
And an interesting note on Hollis, too, that Keeneland race that you're talking about, the Shakertown Stakes, that's the only one on his entire form where he was running without Lasix. They're getting Lasix for this race. I don't know what the rules specifically are with Pimlico, but I know this race they're getting Lasix back. So I'm with you. You scratch that one off. Everything else looks good. And like you said, you're putting Irad Ortiz Jr. in the saddle. That is never a bad thing, especially on turf. Aaron, you, of course, mastermind the inside track to the Preakness Stakes wagering guide, available now at racenews.com. I know that you were pretty big on Hollis. Did you go ahead and put him on top here?
Yeah, I went ahead and did just that. I put Hollis on top. I went with the 5 on top and then the 4 second. So we kind of just flip-flopped our picks there, Mike. So, feel pretty good right there. You mentioned it, Magic, a couple things. The LASIK issue, I think, is definitely significant. Irad Ortiz aboard this horse for the first time. And this is really not a knock on the riders that he's had, but he really hasn't had like that elite rider on him, and now Hollis gets Irad. I think it's going to make a big difference. I'm with you, Mike. I think Hollis is going to be the horse they're going to have to run down turning for home. But what gives me comfort is if for some reason they're just flying like crazy up front, I think Irad's a good enough rider to judge the pace and keep him just off of it if there's some rabbits and it really gets crazy. So I really love that Iraz gets aboard here. I love that we're getting 6-1. I'll go ahead and throw in another one. I'll just get crazy and throw in my long shot that I played here. I also used the 8, Love You Much, at 20-1. You might think, well, that's kind of crazy, but it's a second start off the layoff. So I liked that. And just what I said, the 4, the 5, the 10, the 11, there could be a lot of speed in here. The 8 kind of, to me, is a closer that you want to have on your ticket if this speed really falls apart. So I definitely, the 4-5 for me is certainly, they seem like strong win contenders. They're going to be tough to beat. I think the 8's sneaky at 20-1, guys. I really do. It could be a horse that just rounds out the try and you go, yeah, he can't really win. But I really like the second off the layoff angle, and I really like the pace setup for the 8.
Good pick, but not so fast, my friend. I saw the exact same setup you're talking about. I really did. I saw that pace setup. So I agree with the handicap. I disagree with the horse. I'm going to go to the 12th horse. Look, So Street, second to the outside. Jamie Ness, very good turf sprinting trainer, 13%. I like that. But look at this horse as a second off the layoff 4-year-old who has buyers in the 80s in that 3-year-old season. If you can see a big time improvement here early in the 4-year-old season, a nice jump up, I think this horse can be competitive in this field. I think this is your closer. And I love that outside draw where you're going to be able to kind of set up in that outside part of the second tier. It's going to get a good trip, be able to try and wheel around 15-1. So not quite your 20-1 price, but the exact same idea of how to get to this horse where you've got 4 or 5 horses that want to go out there and want to try and chase or go to the lead. I think it sets up for kind of someone coming from off the pace. And look at that race 2 back. Ran second to Faya, who was one of those horses that was just dominant. Horse went wire to wire in that spot. This horse, So Street, was trying to run into it. I think at 15-1, So Street's worth taking a shot at.
It's funny that we got to the same horses, and it's the same angle, and they're both second off the layoff as well. So that just kind of shows you we were definitely thinking, kind of in the right direction there. The other one, I used 4 horses here. Then the other one I used was the 13 Completed Pass, and I kind of feel like if you like the 8. You kind of got to use the 13. This horse won last time out over this track at this distance. Kind of another one that in that race was forwardly placed, but doesn't have to be on the lead. I think this is kind of like your best stalker with a chance to kind of get first run. So I thought the 13. I really didn't want to. I thought 7-2 is a little short. I'm hoping the price kind of floats up, but I do think the 13 is a very usable horse here.
I agree with you. That was my 4th horse in as well. So we're pretty spot on here with how we kind of both saw this race using the same horses at the top 2, finding the same angle as a price. I just didn't want the 13 to beat me. He's been competitive with a couple in this field. It's going to be that first horse in the second level that gets first run. The stretch at Pimlico is 1.5 miles long, or at least it feels like that when you're watching races. I've been watching Pimlico's turf races today. I think closers are going to have a pretty good weekend if it plays the way it has today, and that kind of sets it up for those horses that we're talking about, but also helps the 13 as well. So, I think we got this race pretty well covered. I don't see anyone else really jumping up and catching us here.
No, I think you guys covered even the ones that I had highlighted. The 12 horse has the jockey Jamie Rodriguez. When I first got into watching horse racing and betting, I loved playing Finger Lakes. That was my go-to jockey at Finger Lakes, so it's good to see him showing up at a track where, well, I was going to say where things are on the up and up, but we'll see what happens in the Preakness Stakes. Until then, we'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Pimlico on Saturday, May 15th. Race 11 is the Grade 3 $150,000 Maryland Sprint Match Series Stakes. Another nice field here, 11 males 4 and up. Going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Favoritism is on the number 5, Strike Power at 7-2. This is a really fun horse here. I think he's got a great shot. Aaron, we'll start with you. Where are you going on top?
Yeah, this is definitely the leg where I'm least confident because it just seems like a bunch of weird horses all mishmashed together, and it's strange, and you got a lot of pace in the race as well, and it's like, but the closers aren't really that good or win very often. So I took the most time on this. In the end, though, I do think number 5, Strike Power, is the most talented horse in the race. And I'm just really hoping Santana just flies out of the gate, gets the lead, and kicks clear of the other speed, like the 7, maybe the 10, maybe the 8. I think they're all going to try to go for the lead, but I'm hoping Strike Power is the speed of the speed. Just get out in front and hopefully, get that trip. If you look at the race 2 back at Oaklawn, if Asmussen can get this horse to reproduce that effort, I don't think these other ones can run this horse down. I think he's just going to be too good. Certainly not a horse I would want to single, though, because we have seen him, fold up shop a lot of times. So I don't have supreme confidence in him. I looked at the number 1 Lackey as my second choice, and one I used here. And this horse is the one that I think if a horse from Off the Pace is going to win, I think it's going to be him. I already mentioned I think the setup could be pretty good for him. So 5-1, those were my top 2 choices.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a boring show. I have the 5 Strike Power on top, and I have the 1 Lackey in second. I think you put it well. I think Strike Power is the best of the speed horses. He doesn't like passing at all. So if he doesn't get the lead, he's in a ton of trouble. And there is a lot of other speed in here. I ended up going 5 deep in this leg because I thought this was one of the toughest to kind of get through. And I have horses that I'm willing to take stands with in both the 3rd and 4th leg of this sequence. So I'm not going to reiterate too much what you said, but I do agree there is quite a bit of pace. And that kind of led me toward the 1 Lackey, who ran a big race last time. And we're getting second off the layoff. Again, don't love it's an 8-year-old, but that first off the layoff was good enough that I'm confident that we're going to run a big one here second off the layoff. My 3rd horse in was the 11, all the way to the outside, 7 Nation Army. Look, this horse was favored against Strike Power and Hollis 2 back. One is a favorite last time out. Marquette getting Saez to take this mount, and this horse is going to sit one of those trips. Like, I don't mind these outside draws when you're talking about sprinting and you have a ton of speed in front of you, because it allows the horse to settle and know what it needs to get, and you're going to get that outside trip where you're going to be in the clear. You don't have to worry about inside internal traffic with horses backing up to the inside. I mean, you saw it with a couple different horses like CZ Rocket and Flagstaff when they won their latest races at Keeneland and Churchill, where they were able to just get wide of all of the traffic, and everyone else had trouble coming up on the inside. I think that's the kind of trip that you're going to see here from 7 Nation Army. So I liked 7 Nation Army here at 5-1. You look at that last race too. He bobbled early, and then the race back when he was the favorite, you go back and watch that replay, he didn't break a lick and then had to swing 4 wide. I think he's much better than that effort. And if I'm using Strike Power, I think you kind of have to use 7 Nation Army.
It's funny. 7 Nation Army, first horse off the ticket for me. I was right there with you, Mike. I really thought about it hard. My theory on it is I get what you're saying about that outside post. I actually agree with that, but it's just like, can he turn the tables on Strike Power? I'm just not quite sure. But yeah, I get it for sure. The other horse that I use, and Nick Feldman just brought it up, that Irad gets on the 8. I've never really loved the 8 all that much, but I looked at it and I said, let's be logical about something. If Flagstaff was in this race, he might be even money. And this horse only lost by 1.25 lengths. And Samich, I know you liked Special Reserve in that race where Flagstaff won.
Yeah, this horse cost me 5 figures that day.
I know. And I think I know what your argument – I don't know if you played him or not, but if you didn't, I think the argument is the pace setup and the trip is going to be different. But did you consider the 8 or use the 8 at all?
I did use the 8 here because, look, this horse took a nice step forward first time out for Baker, second time out in the Commonwealth. I actually think that was a very good race by Special Reserve. And he doesn't want 7 furlongs. It's that simple. If that race was at 6 furlongs, that horse wins. And so we're back at 6 furlongs today. I think this is the better distance. And I don't think Irad has any choice but to absolutely fire out of the gate here. And I could see him just being more aggressive and getting to the lead first. And if he does do that, I don't want the 8 to beat me here because I think this 6 furlong distance is a good distance for Special Reserve.
Yeah, I hope you're right. And I'm the same way. It's just like if that 8 wins, and especially with you, if the 8 wins and you didn't use the 8,
he owes me one.
We would need some special therapy for Mr. Samich if that was to happen. So I went 158. I went 3 deep. I think you got one more left on your ticket, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the 2 horse. 8-1 morning line. I think you're going to get every bit of that and probably a little bit more. This is Yodelay Who. I know this horse well from Gulfstream Park, ran down there a ton, went up to Belmont to compete in an 80K allowance, lost to 3 Technique, is a pretty good horse up there in New York. And the 80K non-winners of 2 is actually a pretty good level. I realize we're jumping up into stakes company here, but this horse has good enough efforts to be able to be competitive. The horse has early tactical speed, so he won't be too far back, but also can close when needed. And this is the horse where if we get that inside post position trip, I really like this the number that you're going to get here. And look, Brittany Russell kills it at Pimlico. And we got Sheldon Russell riding, kills it at Pimlico. I kind of like the idea in a race where I think it could collapse, that I have the trainer and jockey that know the track really well with a horse that has back class and the numbers to be able to get home in a field like this.
Plus, an incredible name. I always love when I see this horse entered. I'm like, oh, there's that idiot again. He's back, So
I yell those calls with Yodelay, who are great. He has so much fun with that name down at Gulf Street.
I know. I want him to win. He doesn't win all that often, but he always puts in a really good effort. Last time out, he got beat by 3 Technique, who's a horse I think is going to come back and have a decent year sprinting. That was just 14 days ago, Belmont, and they said, you know what, let's give it a shot here. I love the aggressive training. I think it's a good sign. Of course, I didn't use, but I'm not going to be shocked that horse wins. I think that's a pretty good horse to use. I'm trying to find like an argument so far through 2 races. We're going to just have to be nice to each other.
Don't worry. I'm sure we'll get into it in a second.
Yeah, I think we're going
to. The one knock I have on the 2 horse, and I love when Brittany and Sheldon Russell team up husband and wife. It's incredible how talented they are, and also they're bringing home good prices usually too. The one knock that I will say, the Sir Shackleton 2 starts back, no Lasix. Ran completely terrible. Lacked bid is the note in the form. We're running without Lasix here, guys. That's my one concern here is maybe the horse bled a little bit and wasn't able to really get that oomph home. So that would be the concern. But to Mike's point, I think you're going to get a really good price here. So if you got the bullet to fire, yes, you could do a lot worse than the 2 horse here.
I want to just address the Lasix thing first real quick. This is a horse where you wouldn't have to put it in this spot if you didn't want to. You could find races where this horse could run with Lasix. So for me, I'm guessing it's more of the start of that race where it just didn't start very well. It had slow start out of the gate, didn't get up very quickly. There's a lot of situations where people are saying, oh, the lack of Lasix is what's causing this horse to not run well. I think that you got to kind of trust the trainer in a lot of these spots where if the horse ran without Lasix once and did bleed and did have a terrible time with it, the trainer wouldn't put that horse back in that situation because it's just wasting a start essentially, right? So for me, unless I see 2 or 3 instances of it, I'm really going to continue to say, okay, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, say that wasn't the main issue in that race, and kind of draw a line through it for another reason, if there is another reason. Obviously, in some cases, horses straight up bleed. We find out that afterward, period, right? But this is one where there was nothing reported on it, and so I'm going to give Brittany Russell the benefit of the doubt here and say that this horse probably didn't have trouble because of that. I think it was other reasons in that race.
People were saying the same thing earlier about Known Agenda. If you remember, they're like, he went to that allowance race, got the Lasix, looked really good, then came back and won the Florida Derby. They were saying it about Promise Keeper last weekend in the Peter Pan. He had an allowance race at Keeneland and dominated after looking terrible at Tampa Bay, and then went to the Peter Pan and won. So I guess you have to side, like kind of what Samich said. If the trainer is a good trainer, they're probably not just saying, "Oh hell, let's just throw him in there." Now if it's
let's hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to waste a start.
Well, I thought it was a great explanation. So yeah, thanks very much for that, and Aaron backed me up, guys. It's nice that you were nice to each other, but as you said, this is where we put a big old split in the road. Race 12, the third leg late pick 4 sequence at Pimlico on Saturday, May 15th. This is a Grade 2, $250,000 race going a mile and a 16th on the turf course, and there's 8 males 4 and up entered in here. 2 each from Grand Motion, one of the best guys in horse racing. Chad Brown also has a pair here, including the number 5 Sacred Life, 7-5 favorite. This is the one horse that you 2 gentlemen agree on, so let's get the nice stuff out here, and then let's get dirty afterwards. Mike, go ahead and talk about Sacred Life first.
I mean, it's a must-use, right? You had Raging Bull Ride a Comet last time out. Before that, Digital Age Factor, this Rock Emperor. This horse has been facing a very, very good horses. Ran a 101 buyer first off the layoff as a 6-year-old. You'd expect that to be on par, at maybe improve a little bit. So definitely deserving 7-5 favorite. But I just feel like there's some places you can take swings in here, and I like a price on top at 8-1. So for me, I think the 5 you have to use, but I think there are other ways you can go here too.
I mean, I'm with you. I don't absolutely love the 5. I don't love the price of 7-5, but yeah, you just have to use the horse. Just been up against too good a company. Also, a little bit of a stretch out in distance, which I think that's ultimately what he wants. I mean, 2 of his wins his only 2 wins, I guess, in this country have come at that distance. And you're right, like Raging Bull, Ride a Comet, better horses than what he's going to face here, no question.
All right. Well, you guys were nice, and neither of you really seemed that excited about the horse. So, Mike, I don't know which one of the 2 horses you want to go with here, because you've got a really interesting one to make an argument for. I'll let you pick where you go next.
Well, I think that the key to this race and why we have different horses, I think we saw the pace playing out completely differently. So when you look through this, you see some like at Hop Brown on the rail. who is your most likely speed horse, right? And probably your fastest horse in the field. And I think would be really dangerous to wire the field. If it weren't for a nice little entry from Calumet Farm in the 7-horse Flying Scotsman. Look, I love this horse 3 back. We had it at 15-1, 16-1 at Gulfstream Park when the horse was able to wire a field going 23-46. I think we have proven this horse does not fit at this class level. So why are we entering the horse back here? I think it's as a rabbit. I think that they are trying to blow the speed out here with Some Like It Hot Brown, and that it's going to set up for the other Calumet horse, who is coming back and making a 5-year-old debut with a jockey that is going to fit the style like crazy. I love the 2 English B here. I think he's going to get all the pace to run into, and I think Calumet entered the 7 specifically to make sure that English B got all of the pace to run into. So I'm reading the tea leaves a little bit here, but I think that you're going to see a hot pace up front. I think the 1 and 7 are going to go, and I think it's going to set up for the 2. And because Calumet entered the 7, I'm going to put the 2 English B on top.
Well, I love reading the tea leaves as much as anybody on this show, so I'm fully on board. You've got me drinking the Kool-Aid there. Aaron, you didn't use, because as Mike said, you saw the pace probably set up a little bit differently here.
I don't even know what reading the tea leaves means, so I'll say
You don't have psychics down there?
I don't. I've never heard that until last week. You and Dan were saying it. You said it like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't even know what that means. I guess it's like reading between the lines. Is that would be?
Yeah, it's psychics will have you drink a cup of tea and look at the tea leaves on the bottom and predict your future by it.
Oh, well.
I've never done this. I've seen it in movies, but that is where the expression comes from.
If that's the reasoning why you're picking English B, I feel a little bit better about not using English B in the spot.
What kind of tea leaves were they, Mike? Did you have to go to a special store to buy them?
I got them from Slim.
All you have to say.
You need it. That's now we know. If you got it from Slim, now we really know why you're using English B in the spot. Listen, Flying Scotsman. Here's the difference. Here's the difference between you and I, and it's one of us is gonna be right, and one of us is gonna be wrong. I just don't have the confidence that this horse can go out and do the job that I think are going to assign him to do. It's just he looks like such cheap speed after the 2 races that he's been in. But I can see your theory for sure. I also think the 5 Sacred Life will be able to outclose English B. And I also think I'm very interested in number 3, Kuramata for Chad Brown. And it's a situation where you look at the numbers, it's like this horse really has to improve. But this horse could improve when you look at it. 2 races back, won a main special weight at Tampa, and a lot of people will go, well, why was this horse at Tampa? It's because Chad Brown hates the turf course at Gulfstream. As we go along, this winter, it's really becoming apparent why he didn't have a good Gulfstream meet. He doesn't like the place, And then last time out, improved, didn't run a number good enough to win here, but gets IRAD back aboard. If we get another improvement, I think he's going to have a good shot. So I chose him over English B. I was between those 2. I only went 3 deep. And like I said, I used the 2 Chad Browns. So I went 3, 5, and then I did use Some Like It Hot Brown, just in case Flying Scotsman just sucks and can't do the job that you're hoping he can do.
Yeah, I had Some Like It Hot Brown as my 4th horse. I'm only going 3 deep here. I do think if you want to protect yourself and kind of build a bigger ticket, you can do that. I'm concerned that we're not going to get a price in the Preakness, and because of that, I'm not trying to put forth a bigger ticket here, and I'm trying to beat Some Like It Hot Brown, who I think is going to be included on like close to 60-70% of the tickets that are bet in here. I don't see people singling it. If you single the 5, you won't have the 1, but if you don't single the 5, I think almost everybody is going to have the 1 here, and so I'm trying to be a little contrarian in that sense. I watched that 3's race again. Look, the second place horse, Lahara, that was his 4th try on the turf at that allowance level. It's another Chad Brown horse that he beat. No one else in that race has come back very good. The 3rd place horse ran a stakes race, I think it was 3rd or 4th with a 91 buyer. That's not good enough to beat this field. So I kind of looked at that 3 for a while, and I feel like the Sacred Life is the better Brown horse, and the improvement is so extreme that you're going to need to see that I kind of went a different direction. I kind of like the 6 horse, Talk or Listen. Look, I love Flavian Pratt. He put on an absolute show on Kentucky Derby Day. Absolute show. We talked about that. All 3 turf horses of his he won with. This is a horse that, again, is going to get a nice setup. I like the fact that we, ran in a graded stakes to kind of to set So to start out the 5-year-old campaign, ran an optional claimer, jumped up into a grade stakes. Then we had a little bit of a layoff, ran at Keelan going a mile and an eighth, run the 99 buyer. This is second start off a layoff, middle of the 5-year-old season. I think you can project improvement off that 99 number. And again, I think this horse is going to be able to get a pretty sweet setup if we do have that pace in front of it. And Flavian Pratt is that jockey that I want to try and make that trip. I think the mile and a 16th is going to be better than the mile and the 8th for this horse as well. So I'm going to use Talker Listen as well, and hopefully we can get a nice price on Flavian Pratt here.
Yeah, I think that horse is sneaky. I really do. I looked at him for a long time. And I agree with what you're saying. And listen, you might look at that allowance race at Keeneland and go, well, God, at 4th. But that was a decent allowance race. There were some pretty good horses in there. So I don't really blame you there. Just real quick, I want to mention the 8, Bye Bye Melvin. I think somebody in the chat may have mentioned it. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Magic. I'm kind of totally agreeing with the comment here. I think Bye Bye Melvin is kind of that sneaky one, just like the 6, where I think we're going to sit a pretty good trip. I think we're going to just draft in behind the speed, sit 3rd or 4th, sit 2 or 3 lengths behind. Second race off the layoff, Graham Motion, we kind of talked about him earlier, great trainer. I don't know. I just kind of think I can't think Bye Bye Melvin is going to jump up and run a little bit better race than what we saw for him last time. And if he does, I think he's got a shot to upset. He did not make my ticket. I want to make that clear. But if you're going to go with another one, I went, like I said, with the 1, 3, 5. If you're going to add a 4th, for me, it would be Bye Bye Melvin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike Bye Bye Melvin. I don't dislike Midnight Tea Time. But I feel like you have to use both if you're using either. And at that point, I'm also including some like at Hot Brown. And then all of a sudden, I'm hitting the all button. And so it kind of the snowball would have just started if I had started to use those horses. But I do agree. I think that Bye Bye Melvin could make some noise here. But I couldn't get there because of the other horses I feel like I'd have to include if I used them.
It is a race where if you start adding, you got to just start adding and adding. And you don't really have that strong single in the sequence. You can't really do that. Like if we had a single in the Preakness, well, then maybe we could add 4 or 5. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
The Aaron, Manu, our good friend Manu, he understands why you didn't know the tea leaves. He said, Aaron knows White Claw and Bourbon Tea. Get the fuck out of here.
That's right.
God bless you, Manu. Always good for a good comment. All right, gentlemen.
The best.
We're headed to the Preakness Stakes. It's grade 1, a $1 million race for 3-year-olds running without Lasix. Going a mile and 3/16 on the main track. You got a pair of juiced up Bafferts in here. I'm going to say it. Number 3, Medina Spirit, 9-5. Number 10, Concert Tour, 5-2. And this is something that I've seen a lot of people, even on the shows that you guys were hosting, saying, well, I don't want to bet this race because of the 2 Bafferts in here. Hey, I hear you. This is, if you don't want to play the pick 4 this weekend, if you're just here to watch, listen, we totally understand. Thanks for watching with us. But we've got the 2 Bafferts here. We've got Midnight Bourbon at 5-1. And then you just got kind of a lot of, I don't really know what's happening over here. Aaron, the Preakness is a race that I believe is one that you've always loved very much in the Triple Crown series. You used to do a great series on racingnews.com breaking down like your top 5 Preaknesses of all time. I always think of a Fleet Alex when it comes to this race. Do we have a Fleet Alex here in this race?
Really? That's what you chose to lead with? No.
Good answer.
Guys, you were having so much fun, right? And now we have to do
I'm trying to make you laugh because this is going to suck. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate it. That was a very good job then. No, we do not have a Fleet Alex in this race. Look, it's just a mess, right? And I think you really laid it out best. You really want to go against the Baffert horses, but God, you really just have one logical option to beat them, right? I mean, these other horses, not only are they not very good, they're pace dependent. Like they're mostly closers. And so it's not great. Listen, I think it all hinges on how you think the Baffert horses are going to show up. And to me, I've kind of made the case in my mind that I don't think Medina Spirit's going to run all that well. And it honestly, I tried to take the what's happened out of the equation and look at it for face value. And one thing that keeps coming back to me, Bob Baffert never shipped this horse out of California, ever. And, until the Kentucky Derby, obviously. So, and I look back and there's quotes saying, I'm keeping him here because I don't really know how he's going to ship. And he kept him there, even though Life Was Good at the time was healthy and he knew he couldn't beat him. So he basically said, I know I can't beat Life Is Good, but I know if I ship him, I'm probably not going to win. to me, that tells me, okay, now we're coming back 2 weeks. We had to take a van up here. We can't fly right now because of the problem with the Tech Sutton flights. But a van up here, it's 2 weeks, coming back in 2 weeks. It's a horse we're really worried that he's going to travel well anyway. Kind of just made a case in my mind. Let's try to beat him. I went with Midnight Bourbon, and I don't love it, as you can tell with my voice, but I kind of came to the theory of, if Asmussen can beat Concert Tour with super stock, maybe he can beat him with Midnight Bourbon. I think Concert Tour is going to get the trip. I think he's going to turn for home with the lead. I think Midnight Bourbon is the only one turning for home that's within range that can go get him. He shouldn't be that far behind him. I don't think he's naturally as fast, so he is going to probably be like a length maybe behind him. I'm just hoping that Concert Tour kind of stops in the lane again and Midnight Bourbon gets up. So I use the 5 and the 10 as my top 2 choices.
So I'm just going to kind of expand on what Aaron said there. So if you look at the trip Medina Spirit got in the Derby, and this is a horse I picked based on that trip I thought the horse would get. It was an A+ trip, right? Perfect draw, got over the rail, no pressure. Everything went as good as could possibly go for Medina Spirit. And as we mentioned on the show when we came on and talked about the race afterward, when we pulled this from Trucks and Stables, Marshall Graham, he ran the 5th fastest time when adjusted for distance travel. So everything going perfect for him. And every other horse had some type of trouble because it was either I had to go outside, had to go wide, got pinched, ran the 5th fastest time. One of the horses that ran faster than him was the 5 Midnight Bourbon, who got pinched at the start, was 4 wide, 5 wide. So right there, it tells you that Midnight Bourbon has the talent to beat Medina Spirit. I also just cannot handle this 9-5 price. Like, one of the reasons I really liked Medina Spirit in the Derby was the 12-1 price. Now you're telling me I get 9-5. And again, this may be an A+ trip again for Midnight Spirit. Willing to totally say that. But the trip won't be as bad for Midnight Bourbon. You're right. And I think Concert Tour would have been the second choice. The Concert Tour won't be worse than Essential Quality's trip was in the Derby. So even if Medina Spirit's trip is as good as it was in the Derby, the contenders will get better trips than they did in the Derby. And I think that's going to allow them to beat him. I think that Medina Spirit is the horse that you leave out here. I'm going to pick to the 10 Concert Tour on top. I think that he is going to come in here, and he was the horse that you like. Look, this was going to be your second choice in the Derby, maybe your favorite if he had rolled in the Arkansas Derby. This was the horse that Baffert thought was more talented. Medina Spirit was able to get it done because of the situation. I think the situation isn't as good here. I think the price isn't as good. So I'm going to go outside to the 10 Concert Tour. I do like Midnight Bourbon as my second pick. I think he's going to run well here. I don't think he's as naturally as fast, but I think he's going to be able to pass Medina Spirit down the lane. Kind of fun facts here. So 16 of the last 21 winners of this race ran in the Kentucky Derby. So that's great for Midnight Bourbon. But ironically, all the last 7 years, you've had a new shooter at 17+1 hit the try. So I think another thing that we can talk about, since we do agree on the 5-10 here, who do you like as that new shooter that could fill out those 3rd and 4th spots for people that are listening?
It's a great question. Crowded Trade, I keep going back to that horse. But listen, he's kind of trash, right? I mean, he did break his maiden nicely. I thought that was his best race. He couldn't beat Weyburn, and he had every chance to do it in the Gotham. And then he was not good at all, in my opinion, in the Wood. And he might say, well, he finished 3rd. He finished 3rd to 2 terrible horses. And they go, well, he was really wide. I don't give a damn. Those horses are terrible, But at the same time, I do think he can sit close enough to where he's not going to be 15 lengths back, like Keep Me in Mind, like Rombauer. And I think he'll kind of just get first run after Midnight Bourbon makes his move. I could see Crowded Trade being right there 3rd, 4th. And then it's just like, well, if one of them comes back, he could win. Or not, he could not win. He could hit the number, right? He could get 3rd. These horses closing from the clouds, I just don't see it. I mean, I would love to see Rombauer be a little closer this time. But again, I don't know if you're going to change tactics on the biggest race day of his life. I don't know if you're going to do that. But I guess reluctantly, Crowded Trade is my answer to the question.
So I was Crowded Trade when I started this. The first time I handicapped this race, Crowded Trade was my answer as well. And then I punched myself in the face for considering taking an Aqueduct horse. Like, I can't do it, man. Like, if you go talk back to the adjusted times, the horses that ran 2nd to last and 3rd to last were Bourbonic and whatever that other donkey's name is,
Dynamic One.
Dynamic One,
That came out of that Aqueduct circuit. The horse that ran last was Soup and Sandwich, who literally just stopped and walked the other direction. So like this was as bad as you could possibly run. Highly motivated, didn't run that great in there either. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, look, I'm just going to chuck the Aqueduct horses. If Chad Brown wins, Mike loses. I'm okay with doing that. You know, someone mentioned Rombauer. I kind of like Rombauer here, and the case I'm going to make is that this horse was pointed for this race the entire time, that the plan was to run in the Lexington and then come back in the Preakness. And Mike McCarthy wanted this horse to be ready. Flavian Pratt flies out to take this mount. I think there's enough reasons that you can argue that this horse is going to be a little closer to the pace this time. And that, look, the horse ran well in California, ran well at the Breeders' Cup, is improving by the last two, needs to take a big step up to win. But I think underneath is actually pretty logical and could spice up your try and your super. He's able to get up to for second or third here.
Listen, nobody would be more happy than me if Rombauer does exactly what you said, because I've got him in the fantasy league, so that would be great. I've never had any faith in Rombauer ever. Not even when I drafted him. I thought, he's a fifth-round draft pick. It's like, well, at least he's ran, you know. I thought his race in the El Camino Real was just dreadfully bad. He won, but I thought that is a dreadful horse. He did surprise me last time out. He only got beat by 5 3/4 lengths to Essential Quality and Highly Motivated in the Bluegrass. I thought, well, that's pretty good race. Yeah, I'm with you. He could definitely hit the board. I like somebody said, you know, pace meltdown and he wins. I so hope you're right, but I just don't. Listen, pace meltdown, like they're gonna have to stop for this horse to get there. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that, you know, that's why I kind of like the underneath move here with Rombauer. He was close to the pace last time out, and they just went really slow. And look, those two horses are better than him when they get a pace advantage on him, and so he needs to have that type of setup if he's going to be able to run into it. Other horse I thought was interesting was France Go de Ina, the 7 horse. I gotta give a shout out to Justin Du, who sent me the Japanese writing that you have to put into a chat to be able to pull up the past performances to watch replays on YouTube of this horse. So I watched the replays from Japan. This horse likes to be forwardly placed, wants to be either on or close to the lead. And you go and you watch that Dubai race, and it's over at the start. I mean, just the horse has no chance, not in it at all. And the turn of foot late is great. What was he beating? I don't really know. I'll be honest with that. You know, wasn't a lot that I think every horse in the races have stayed in Japan, so you don't really have any other way to compare this horse. But the turn of foot is pretty dynamic against the horses he was facing. It should be more forwardly placed than a lot of the horses that we're talking about at a bigger price, so isn't as pace dependent as those. And you get Rosario up, who should fit this horse pretty well if he can sit in that 4th or 5th spot and then start churning for home. I think it's definitely a long shot to win. But I think this is another one that you can use in your tries and your supers and kind of throw out the Keep Me in Mind, which is starting to get steam, and throw out the Browns and be able to get some horses that are going to get a little bit, I think, spice up the super and the try more, because I think they're less likely to be used than the horses that I just mentioned.
I think the Japanese horse, you definitely can look at and go, well, he's kind of the mystery horse. But if you look at the past results of horses from overseas that have come over to run in this series, it hasn't been great. But you look at this race, and it sucks something fierce. So maybe this is the guy who can kind of come over here and get 3rd or 4th. I'm with you. Like, I've seen some people pick this horse to win. I don't know about that, but I do think the horse might be, that fringe underneath play. I've seen a lot of people's like, I'm rooting for this one. This is the only one I want to see win. Why? I don't get that at all. Like,
chaos, Aaron. Everybody wants chaos. And that would cause chaos.
I don't want. Okay, give me somebody else that's been running over here. Like, I don't want this horse to come over and win the Preakness. I mean, no, I don't want that to happen.
Well, I do think you can make a case that the Japanese circuit has gotten significantly better in the last 2 years as well, because you have seen some horses ship over to Dubai, ship over the Saudi Cup, and run much better than they had in the past. I'm just not sure that we're quite there where they can win one of these races, but I think hitting the board is not out of the question.
There's a couple things in the chat I wanted to hit up real quick here. Manus brings up that the France Go de Ina threw he says practice jack, but the exercise rider one morning. What actually happened is that the exercise rider shifted his weight when the horse was was starting to make the turn, or starting to turn a little bit, and just literally got dumped out of it and was completely rider error. And speaking of rider error, a block party says, Rosario, remember Rock Your World in the Derby, terrible ride. Rosario's foot wasn't in the iron at the start. It's kind of hard to have a good ride in the Kentucky Derby when your foot's just kind of flopping there on the side of the horse as you break from the gate. So I wanted to touch on those two because I think that those two were a little bit overblown. And then one last note on the Japanese horse. It might be based in Japan and running there, but does have pretty good breeding. Will Take Charge was 7th in the Preakness Stakes and is out of a Curlin dam. Curlin, the 2007 Preakness Stakes champion for Steve Asmussen, trainer of Midnight Bourbon. So you have a lot of American breeding there. And the horse had, if you look at the last year, didn't run well on debut, but then won the next 2 starts. Doesn't run well at the UAE Derby for multiple reasons. Now we're going to get second off the layoff. The plan also for this horse is to continue on to the Belmont Stakes. So if you're on this horse and something goes wacky, Rosario loses another iron, I don't know, maybe you want him for the Belmont. I'm not going to, but there is something there for it.
Well, on the Rosario topic real quick, the guy has the largest bell curve of any jockey. His bell curve is just like this. You have some amazing rides and you have some atrocious rides. But I would beg anyone to, most of his atrocious rides are on speed horses, right? And when he tries to Rosario them and make them mid-pack horses or closers. So, I mean, Rock Your World wasn't a fit for Rosario. I said that before the Derby. I'm saying that after the Derby. It wasn't a good fit for the horse. So I feel like a horse like this is more of the horse you want Rosario on. I'm not looking for Rosario on speed. I'm looking for Rosario on horses that are going to close. And I think that's what we're going to see Francisco de Ina do here.
Tea leaves and bell curves. Only on the Magic Mike show do we get tea leaves and bell curves.
Do I need to explain a bell curve?
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is, but I really don't want to know either. So, listen, here's what I'll tell you about jockeys in general, and I'll explain it without talking about bell curves. Forgive them when they are terrible. They all have rides from time to time, and listen, Rosario is one of the worst ever. I mean, to start the Kentucky Derby and you're not ready because your foot's on in the iron. I mean, that's just crazy. But I've seen these guys over the years have a bad ride or two, and then they'll just beat you in the next race. They've got very short memories, these guys. I'm telling you, especially the good ones. So don't think, well, Rosario can't give this horse a ride because he sucked on Rock Your World. I mean, Rosario was winning races left and right 2 days after that. So
exactly,
they've got short memories, and you should too with the jockeys.
And Aaron, the last note here, I would say that on Blinkers Off later today, you and Jared are going to go a lot more in depth on the Preakness Stakes runners, including horses like Ram, who we didn't really talk about, Unbridled Honor, Risk Taking. So if you're listening to this and you wanted to get a little bit more insight on what the guys think about the longer shot horses, tune into Blinkers Off. Aaron and Jared will go through it, and I can imagine you guys are going to have some pretty fun comments for some of these horses like Ram.
I just love that comment. I wasn't even listening. I love it. That's great.
Jockeys wear size 4 hats for a reason. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for joining Mike and Aaron and I to go through the late pick 4 sequence on Saturday. Preakness Stakes Day at Pimlico. If you're interested in playing and betting, make sure to racenews.com. Check out the inside track to the Preakness Stakes wagering guide is now available. I saw the email from Jared come through, so it is officially there. If you pre-ordered it or if you got the monthly subscription, log into your dashboard. It's right there. Please, for the love of God, listen to me. Just log in. It's at the top of your dashboard. Don't send Aaron and I a million emails about it because if you log in, it's at the top of your dashboard.
Log in, click Fix Dashboard, download the guide. That's the instructions.
Is it at the top or the bottom of the dashboard?
Oh, we're not. No.
The guys are going to go through their tickets one last time. If you are watching us live or the replay on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, please give us a thumbs up, a like. It really helps us a lot. Mike, go ahead and give out your 50-cent ticket, and then we'll kick it to Aaron.
All right. I'm going to play a 50-cent pick 4. I'm going to go 4, 5, 12, 13 with 1, 2, 5, 8, 11 with 2, 5, 6 with 5, 10 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $60.
All right. I've got a $54 ticket here, 50 cent, 4, 5, 8, 13 with 1, 5, 8 with 1, 3, 5 with 3, 5, and 10.
Over at racenews.com, you can also check out the full preview of the Preakness Stakes, courtesy of Mr. Aaron Halterman, as well as the Black Eyed Susan Stakes. Guys, this was a fun show. Thanks for having me back on. It was a nice little easy way to transition in. And when we're back here on Monday, Mike, I don't have to sit here and say, man, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that, because I just didn't do anything. Hang on a second. I'm getting a phone call. You guys vamp for a second. I'm getting a phone call. 1 second.
Oh, yeah. So Magic doesn't get to play money morning quarterback with our tickets, but we get to. So that'll be fun. Hopefully we're talking about a winner. Make sure to check out all the Racing Dudes products. You got free picks every track, every race, every day over at racingdudes.com. We got the Sama Bombs up already for Friday's card. Saturday's card will be up as soon as we get that into the portal. And then Sunday, don't forget it's Santa Anita. We got a mandatory pick 6 payout. So it's going to be a big weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Looking forward to all 3 of those days. Aaron, tell us what you got going on.
Oh, everything. I don't know. Well, no, we've got every track every day covered. Through the weekend as always. Guide is out now. Make sure to check that out. I'm guessing we're gonna have a live stream on Saturday. I don't know when, and I believe Jared and I are going to be on Sirius XM on Saturday as well. And Mike, you're going to be on a show, right?
Yeah, if you're not sick of me, in about 30 minutes, I'll be on You Better You Bet. Tomorrow morning, I'm on WFAN in New York. You can catch me in podcast form there as well. And then I'll also be on Brown Bag Bets tomorrow morning around 11:30. So if you're not sick of me yet, you will be by the time this race goes off.
Magic, what are you doing?
I've got some good news and I got some bad news. So I found out that after the tickets were submitted and you guys gave your picks, I got a call that our mascot, Mike, he tested positive for something. I swear to God, I've never put anything on the horse that would ever contain anything. It doesn't make sense to me. Our mascot... Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, okay, well, I put this little... But this is just... He had a little skin irritation. You just rub it in. There's nothing... I mean, it's not like the bottle says that there's betamethasone in the damn thing. I don't know what the hell's going on. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to file a preemptive lawsuit to make sure that the tickets can be played this weekend. I think we're going to be good. Listen, I got a real snake of a lawyer because I think we're going to be able to make this work. So hopefully we can make it work. And we'll be back on Monday to talk about the winning tickets that one of you guys gave out because you split off a little bit here and there. But
we can both get there.
Well, you could get there. You got to get through that third leg with the 5, but then you can do that one. But until Monday, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike. And he's Aaron.
Halterman. Thanks so much, guys. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you Monday.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.